All right, so this is a highlight of the important parts of Chapter 3, a quick review of Chapter 3 of Fundamentals of English Grammar. If you want to open up your book, I will be starting on page 55. I also recommend that if you haven't written down the questions that you need to answer from this video, that you either write them down or you have them in front of you, because I will be going over the answers to them, and it'll be easy for you to write them down if you write down the answers if you have them in front of you. All right, so far what we've talked about is we've talked about the present time, and we talked about the simple present and the present progressive, and we talked about their uses. And then we talked about past time, and we actually covered three different types of past time. We had the simple past, we had the past progressive, and then we also had used to, which is a special form of the past tense. So now what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about future time here. Now, the most common forms for the future time are using be going to and will. So let's talk about these. So here we have a picture, and they say they're going to have a picnic in the park this afternoon. Here's another example. I'm going to get married in 1 hour. I will get married in 1 hour. Now, by and large, these mean pretty much the same thing. What they are in this sense is we're saying that they're a prediction about the future. Okay, that this is what I think is going to happen in the near or the distant future. In this case, it's the near future. Whenever we have these words, Todd is in class this morning. Todd was in class this morning, but he left early. Tolly's going to be in class this morning, but he will be a little late. All of these words, today, tonight, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, potentially they could be the present tense, the past, or the future. It depends on what time it is right now. So, for example, I'm recording this at night. So it doesn't make for me to say, I can't say Todd is in class this morning, because right now it's nighttime, so that doesn't make sense. But I could say, if I was having a class in my bedroom, Todd is in Todd is in class this evening. I don't know why he'd be in my bedroom, but anyway. But I could say Todd was in class this morning because it's nighttime now. And I could also say Todd is going to be in class. Well, I can't say Todd is going to be in class this morning because I'm already past morning. Okay. I could say that if it was, I could say Todd is going to be in class tonight, but he'll be a little late. Okay, if he's coming over to my house. All right. All right. So when we talk, the question that I asked you is about what's the difference between be going to and will. Do they mean anything different? So here we say you're going to enjoy this great meal, and you will enjoy this great meal. Okay. So what this means in both of these cases is that this is a prediction. Now, the difference, what we're going to get into later is having a plan. So the difference between a prediction and a plan means that a prediction means you can't really control it. So you're going to enjoy this great meal. Now, I hope that is true, right? And I've worked really hard to make this food, but maybe, peppers make you sick, maybe you're not going to enjoy it because you're feeling sick. I don't have any control over it. So when it's a prediction, and this is often used like with the weather, it's going to rain tomorrow or it will rain tomorrow. I don't have any control over the weather. So I can use both of these forms for a prediction about the future. Okay. Um, However, here we say, I made this food because we're going to have a party. Now that's okay because it's a plan. I made this food because we're going to have a party, right? In that case, it's not a prediction, but it's a plan. I have control over it. I'm going to do things to make this party happen. But the thing is that when there's a prior plan, what I can't do is I can't use will, because will is not used for plans, okay? For plans that are in the future. We just use be going to for a prior plan. However, we say I will help you wash the dishes. Okay? Now, in this case, it's not a prior plan, it's a decision that's going on right now. So in this case, we can't use be going to. Because if I say, I am going to help you wash the dishes, what it means is that sometime in the past, I already made a decision to make this plan to help you wash the dishes. I've been thinking about this for 3 days, and I am going to help you wash the dishes. Okay? When you say, I will help you wash the dishes, it means that you're volunteering right at that moment. So that's the difference between the two of these. So let's look at these. Which one should we choose? If you need this, I am going to buy it for you, or I will buy it for you. So if it's I'm going to buy it for you, it means that she had a plan to buy that thing for him from before they even came to the store. But if she's just making the decision right then, it should be will. And in this case, it's will. Let's look at another one. I am going to go to college in England, or I will go to college in England. So if it's I'm going to go, it means that I have a plan to do it. If it's I will go to college in England, it means, you know what? I just decided that. I'm going to go to college. I will go to college in England. I just made the decision right now. So in this case, it should be I'm going to go to college in England. Okay? We're assuming that she had a plan beforehand. Let's look at this one. It is going to be another beautiful sunset, or it will be another beautiful sunset. Now, the PowerPoint sort of gives the answer away because there's two choices there. But the reason why we can use both is because this is a prediction, right? It's not a plan, right? We have no control over the sunset. We can't make it beautiful or not beautiful, okay? It's also not volunteering to do something, right? We're not going to be able to say, well, yeah, I'll make it I will make this a beautiful sunset. We don't have any control over that, okay? So then let's look at the next question. The next question is about using the future tense in time clauses, time and also if clauses. Now we talked in chapter 4 about the time clauses. So here we say, as soon as she gets here, we will start. So as soon as, this is the time clause, right? And the we will start will be the main clause. One thing we recognize here again is that when we have the time clause first, we use a comma. When it's second, we don't use a comma. Okay? So the idea of the time clause is the same. Okay? But one thing here we need to pay attention to is that even though we're talking about the future, in the future time clause, we don't actually use the future tense. We don't use will or be going to with words like before or after or when. So it says, before I go to bed, I'm going to take a bath. So before I go, not before I am going to bed. Even though the meaning is future. In the main clause, we use a future tense. I'm going to take a bath. Okay? After I take a bath, I'm going to go to bed. Okay? So with after, we say take, not after I am taking a bath. Sorry, after I am going to take a bath, I'm going to go to bed. She'll call him when she has time. Not she'll call him when she will have time. Okay? So in the time clause, we use the simple present tense. And this is a mistake. You know, some of these mistakes that we talk about, I don't see. But this is certainly a mistake that I do see in writing. And I'd be interested to know, what it looks like in your language, because oftentimes that's where the mistakes come from. All right. So here we see some other examples. So here we say, as soon as I graduate, I'm going to get a job. Okay. So again, in the future time clauses, we are using the simple present tense. Okay. The same is true for if clauses. If clauses work the same way as the time clauses. Okay. If it snows tomorrow, we're going to stay home. Okay. We we will use we will use the simple present tense. So here's a mistake. As soon as I will graduate, I'm going to get a job. The mistake there is that in the time clause, we need to use the simple present tense. Here's another mistake. Until I'm going to graduate, I'm going to study every day. The mistake again is that you're using the you're using the future tense in the time clause. Okay? We don't use will or be going to in the time clauses. So let's look at these ones. Are these correct or incorrect? You may ask a question after you will raise your hand. Well, we're talking about time clauses, so we need to recognize what the time clause is. The time clause will be after you will raise your hand. So in the time clause, are we allowed to use the future tense? The answer is no, right? So you may ask a question after you raise your hand. Okay? Let's look at this one. Before you leave for school, we're going to kiss you. So we're talking about time clauses, so let's identify the time clause. It's before you leave for school. Okay? The verb there is leave. That's in the simple present tense. So is that correct or incorrect? In this case, it's correct. So after the cast, we need to use the word come. So is it going to be after the cast will come off next week, she will feel better? Or is it going to be after the cast comes off next week, she will feel better? In this case, it should be comes, because after the cast comes off, that's our time clause. Okay, and remember, we can't use the future tense in time clauses. All right, so we have two more things to get covered. So we have the present progressive here. Now, we're talking about the future tense, and we said most of the time we have will and be going to. That covers our future tense. But there's two more ways that we can use the future tense, but they're both very limited. So Sujin is playing in a piano recital this afternoon. We're talking about the future. Okay? Here is another example. Alicia is going to start college in September. That's our future tense, right? But I can also say Alicia is starting college in September. Here I say we're going to try a new restaurant tonight. We're trying a new restaurant tonight. Now, in both of these cases, the meaning is the same, right? The meaning of these ones is the same. But we have to ask ourselves, well, what's the situation that we can use the present progressive to express future time? So let's look at these examples. We're going to have a meeting tomorrow. We're having a meeting tomorrow. Elise is going to drive to Peru this summer. Elise is driving to Peru this summer. Again, we have the same meaning. And we want to look at these. Well, what's similar in all of these? What's similar about all of these? And the thing that's similar is that these are definite plans. These are definite plans that have been made earlier. So when we're talking about the future and when we're talking about a definite plan, we can use the present progressive to talk about it. Okay? Oftentimes, you're also going to have words like this summer or tomorrow that give you the future meaning, but it's not required. The important thing to note is that even though we could use it for definite plans, we can't use it for predictions. So you're going to cry when you read that story, okay? That's a prediction. Remember, we talk about predictions means we don't really have any control over them, okay? So we can't say you're crying when you read that story. We can't use it for predictions. So what about this? There's two ways to do this. Where are you going to go next year? or where are you going next year? Okay? We're asking about what's your plan for next year. So, what are you going to study next year, or what are you studying next year? Both of them are correct. She is going to go. She's going to fly this afternoon, or she's flying this afternoon. Okay, all of these ones are. So then our last question here is about the simple present tense. When can we use it to express future time? Okay, so my train arrives at 9 every morning. Let's look at some other examples. The museum closes at 6 p.m. It opens at 9 a.m. The swimming season ends in September. There is a great movie on tonight. Okay, so the simple present can be used for future time when we're talking about something that has a definite schedule. And the most common verbs that we're going to see with this are these ones here. And you can notice that each one of these verbs are really schedule related. So arrive means, you arrive at some time, you leave at some time, you start at some time, you finish at some time. What these ones are talking about, we're talking about things that have a schedule. So if we look at our example, we say the museum closes, right? Museums have scheduled times, and closing and opening. We're talking about a season, a swimming season, a sports season. It has a schedule. Okay. In this one, there's a great movie on tonight, right? If we're talking about TV, TV has a schedule. So when we're talking about something that has a definite schedule, we can use the simple present tense. Okay. But here, I studied this evening. This is incorrect, right? Studying doesn't have like a definite schedule in the sense, in the way that a train or a movie or something like that has a schedule, right? Uh, Most of us don't have our whole lives planned out by, okay, on Tuesday evenings I study. Um, um, I hope that you don't have that. Maybe you do, but this is more of a plan rather than something that has a definite schedule. So it'd be okay to say I'm going to study this evening or I'm studying this evening, but not I study this evening. Okay, because there isn't a definite plan. Okay. So it does not work with most verbs. So the thing is to uh, keep in mind that it tends to be with these scheduling verbs that were listed on the previous slide. So let's just practice here real quickly. Which one of these is this correct or incorrect? Jacob rides in the race tomorrow. So remember, the simple present tense is only used with a definite schedule. So is this a definite schedule? Is this, something like a museum where it's always the same? This one's incorrect, right? It can be Jacob is riding in the race tomorrow because it's a plan. Or we could also say, we could say Jacob is going to ride in the race tomorrow because it's a plan, right? This one is a plan. But in this case, we can't use rides. We can't use the simple present tense when it's a plan. So the party begins in 5 minutes. Okay? Is this correct or incorrect? This one's correct. Okay? Because begin and end and start and finish, those are some of those scheduling words, right? The party begins in 5 minutes. There's some schedule for it. The party is beginning in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's fine too. The party is begin in 5 minutes. No, there's no such thing as is begin. Okay, this is something that I certainly do see in people's writing. But remember, you're never going to have the helping verb is or are with a simple form of the verb. It just doesn't exist in English. It certainly is a problem that we do see, though, in writing. All right, so here's our last slide here. We say he takes the bus to school tomorrow. Okay, so we need to ask ourselves: Is this? I does he have a schedule? This is one of those that is a little bit confusing. Now it's going to say this one's incorrect because it's not one of those order verbs. Sorry, those schedule verbs like begin and end. Okay. Um, but he takes the bus to school tomorrow. You could say it's okay if that's on his schedule, right? He takes the bus to school tomorrow. That's part of his schedule. In that case, it would be okay. He's taking the bus to school tomorrow. That's certainly good. That's a plan. And he's going to take the bus to school tomorrow is also okay. All right. So go ahead and make sure that you have those answers down. Bring those ones into class. If you didn't quite get them, you can go back and rewind and hopefully pick them out. All right. Take care. See you in class. Bye.